the Onside Kick. Ricky Whitmer here along with Dave Oster.
Hey, guys.
And Mark Weber.
How's it going?
And this week we're back like we are every week to talk about the Bears preseason game against the Oakland Raiders. We're going to preview the last NFL division we have in the AFC North and talk a little bit about college football. But guys, the Bears, they absolutely, I'm going to say first half, blow out the Raiders. Second half, I mean, it's third stringer, so who the hell cares? But the big thing I'm taking from this game that had nothing to do with the Bears, Terrell Pryor
will be the starter of the Oakland Raiders.
Well, that's what I wanted to say when you said the blowout. We did blow out the Oakland Raiders in the first half until Terrell Pryor came in with that last, almost 2-minute drill and just ran wild. And then they got a field goal.
Yeah, it was a little bit impressive to see Terrell Pryor come in. You know, I'd have to say if I was Matt Flynn, I'd be a little bit worried. This is the second, third-round pick that's going to take away your starting position.
You really think that Pryor's going to take away Flynn's job?
Flynn looked embarrassingly bad.
Well, the problem is, and here's the thing about when you're a team that's on the bottom. You're in rebuilding mode. You've got this quarterback who I'll even say is a good quarterback, although I don't
Which
really
one,
think
Flynn or Pryor?
You got Flynn. I'm
Okay.
talking about Flynn right now. He's a good prototypical quarterback. We've seen him be successful in Green Bay when he had everything built around Aaron Rodgers, so it's easy to walk in there and just get it done.
You mean he was good for 2 games?
Exactly. He had 2 great games, and everybody wants to crown him and give him all the money in the world.
If you want to crown their asses.
Thank you.
So here's the thing. In Oakland, there's nothing. There's nothing for Matt Flynn. Now, Terrell Pryor doesn't need anything. He's a mobile quarterback. All he has to do is move his legs around, wait for plays to break down, and that's what he can do successfully. And that's why this team is better suited for Terrell Pryor, the mobile quarterback, because there's nothing for Matt Flynn to be successful with.
Yeah, they're extremely limited with offensive talent. They picked up a tight end who I think is going to be pretty helpful this year, and I think that Terrell Pryor will be throwing to him a lot. Matt Flynn, I'm sorry. He was 3 for 6 with 2 picks. That's not really something you want to see going up against a first-team defense.
Especially when you're playing the Bears, and I said it to a friend of mine where I texted him, and I was like, I'm so excited to see the former Packer just get killed out there by the Chicago Bears. And that's what happens. He's not going to survive pass rush. The only guy who can survive a pass rush is Terrell Pryor, because he can move.
And what you saw was Terrell Pryor was very good at escaping the pocket, getting out of the pressure, like you said. He even stiff-armed a lineman, and there was a jump pass. I mean, it's fun to watch. It definitely gets your attention, and he extends plays so well that you're right. Even if there isn't a whole lot of talent on that Oakland offense, he's still able to get the ball downfield because of the breakdown protection after 8 seconds.
Well, and I mean, the one thing you're talking about, mobility, and Dave, you said it, he can expand any play. Where have we seen this before? Oh, wait, Cam Newton, RG3, Colin Kaepernick, Russell Wilson has been able to do this. This whole mobile quarterback kind of, I'm going to call it a trend.
Yeah,
right now.
It is a trend, for sure.
But, I mean, maybe Oakland, hey, let's jump on the bandwagon with this mobile quarterback. I mean, Michael Vick, I even forgot him.
And hang on, let's just compare. Okay, you had Russell Wilson in Seattle. Offensive talent, other than having a fantastic running back, was pretty limited at wide receiver. You have RG3, offensive talent. Before they, picked up Alfred Morris and realized how very, very, very good he was, they were pretty limited at wide receiver. So you're seeing a similarity. Obviously, Cam Newton had Steve Smith, who, wow, that's just awesome. But other than that, it's mobile quarterbacks can win now in this league without having the experience, without having the talent around them on offense, purely because of their athleticism and their ability to break down defenses.
Cam Newton also has Greg Olsen.
But here's the thing about that. Actually, and we just saw this in their Week 3 preseason game. A lot of bad throws from Cam Newton to Greg Olsen. So something like that is forgivable when you have this mobile quarterback. Yes, some of those throws aren't going to work out. But we all remember Mike Vick over in Atlanta. Some of those throws were horrible throws.
But he had Crumpler. I mean, that was his safety blanket.
I guess as long as you give a safety blanket.
Yeah.
And Terrell Pryor does have that.
Yeah, I
and
believe
that
their
rookie
first round
tight end.
Yep.
So you got that. just move around, do what you can do, unless... Well, first of all, I want to say that you think that the ghost of Al Davis would love a guy like Terrell Pryor.
He did. That's why I picked him up in the supplemental draft.
And then, basically, I mean, the only thing I can see to support Matt Flynn is, A, you paid him. And then, B, maybe you want to get Bridgewater in the draft next year?
If there is a tank campaign for a top-tier quarterback, I could see that. But I don't...
But would it be for Bridgewater or Manziel? Because if Manziel comes out...
Manziel is still kind of questionable whether he's going to be a first-round pick, a second-round pick.
Because of his off-the-field issues.
Exactly. And that's kind of a big scare. So maybe they could still get, Manziel if someone wanted to take a flyer on him. It all depends on how everything blows up in the NCAA this year.
But, I mean, we've talked enough about the Raiders. Let's look over at the Bears. The Chicago Bears. Jay Cutler gets exactly what we wanted. He was going to play most of the game. He went 12 of 21, 142 yards, had a touchdown. But, guys...
No interception.
No interception.
Take your thunder away.
But that's not... I mean, that's not what I'm looking at with Jay.
Are you looking
Jay,
at the no sacks? Because that was pretty nice,
No,
too.
I mean, I should be looking at that. But you know what I'm looking at? Who had the most receptions for the Bears? Oh, yeah, that's right. His name wasn't Brandon Marshall. It was Alshon Jeffrey.
Well, he's like miniature Brandon Marshall. Let's be honest here.
But his name isn't Marshall.
Exactly. And I think that's
Jay's
point.
problem.
You're correct. It's almost embarrassingly bad how last year Brandon Marshall was the entire receiving core for this Bears team. And we see the effort very clear in this game to get the ball to as many offensive options as possible. Jay Cutler did a fantastic job of spreading the ball around. And I think even more importantly was the fact that after he's gotten everybody involved, Matt Forte was able to break down this run game because of excellent blocking on behalf of Jeffrey, Marshall, Bennett. We have our offensive weapons not only going down and catching the ball with their hands, they're throwing blocks 10 yards down the field. That is awesome to watch.
Well, I love, too, it was one of the runs where you see Forte just going out there, but one thing you saw was Matt Slauson all the way way out there, still competing, still blocking, still making sure that the play continues. That was one thing that is just fantastic. When you see this offensive unit, they're all contributing. No one's giving up. No one's saying, well, I'll be there next time. Things like that. It just continues and it keeps going.
See, and Mark, one of the guys we talked about last week here on the podcast was Michael Ford. And last week he had, 100 and something return yards. This week, I'm not seeing a ton of return yards. Yeah, he did have 100 again. I had to scroll down a little bit. But also at Ford, he also had a touchdown in the run game, and he ran for 58 yards on 9 carries. So I'm thinking to myself, cuts are coming up. Why not just cut Devin Hester now?
It's hard to cut the greatest kick returner of all time.
Just kick it out of bounds.
I know. And lots of teams had done that for a while, but now they're not afraid of him anymore. After we put him on offense, he's a little afraid of getting hit.
Then why have him on your? Why pay him so much? This is what I'm saying. Why pay him so much money?
High reward.
Why pay him money when you can pay Ford less money to do the same thing and run the ball better?
It's not the same thing. You don't see Ford scoring touchdowns every single time the ball's kicked to him.
But Hester isn't doing that anymore.
Changer, and that is why he was paid. I agree with you. I don't think he's worth the money we're paying him, and I don't think that he necessarily deserves to have a roster slot a couple years down the road. But right now, he's still able to take it to the house anytime he touches the ball on a kick return.
Yeah, it's a difficult place to be in. It really is. One is the history, but we got this new kind of GM and head coach that have already shown we don't care about history. What can you do for me right now? And right now, I don't think Devin Hester really can do all that much. Although I will say, in this game against the Raiders, there was a little less east to west movement and a little more north to south movement, which is rare for Devin Hester, but I love seeing it.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think Michael Ford can do a very successful job. And I think it was the last podcast where I made the comparison of are you going to be content with people kicking away from Devin Hester at times and you getting fairly good yards, or do you want to go the next step and maybe you lose a little bit now and then, but you're going to have the potential to get those touchdowns back?
Seeing the one thing I love, and I know this is just one play sample size from Ford, but on the touchdown he scored, the sick double spin move to make not just one guy miss, but two guys miss on the way to going for a touchdown.
Yeah, it was an electrifying play, to be honest with you. It was like, wait. Oh, he's breaking free. One spin move. A second spin, and he's in. Wow.
It was deadly. I love seeing it. He needs a roster spot, without a doubt. I think everybody's agreed that he gets a roster spot no matter what. I think, honestly, I mean, I know Bush plays a very important role, but I would kind of rather see Michael Ford get some of those carries and take them away from Bush.
And the one thing with Michael Bush, I know, Mark, you've expressed this kind of concern with Bush where he would just run right up the middle. Oh, there's an opening to the outside. I'm not going to take it because that's what Bush is.
He's a
bruiser. I'm going to pound it right up the middle no matter what. And I mean, Ford can either go right up the middle or he'd be the one to say, hey, I'm going to bounce to the outside, take some yards.
See, the thing is, I think we need to have that equivalence. I think between Forte is the guy who is all-purpose running back. He can do it all. We got Bush, who can absolutely pound the ball, goal line situation, and get the tough yards. I think Ford is a great handcuff to have behind Forte because he's able to do a lot of similar things. He can take the ball outside, like you said. He has good speed, good vision, and obviously that spin move can be deadly. So I think it's a great safety plan to have him there because, like, Forte has been injured. Bush has been injured. So I think that third running back spot will be very, very important to watch.
See, and going over, I want to go from offense to defense now. One guy, we talked about Michael Ford getting a roster spot. Well, Cornelius Washington, number 78, defensive end for the Bears. From what I saw yesterday, dude needs a roster spot. Dude needs ones now.
And this is, again, you got to think this is third stringer's end of the game, but his motor is always running. He does not stop on plays. He absolutely massacred the Oakland Raiders on that line. I mean, he's just big, strong, and has some decent speed to him.
He's a great guy to have, and he's the kind of change of pace, you know, if you need some fresh legs out there, things like that is what's going to be very helpful. And honestly, we play some weaker offensive lines. It's a nice benefit to have. You want to have these guys who you see, and it might just be against a weak Oakland team, but you can see for sure they will get it done, they will get to the quarterback, and they cause havoc.
As far as Washington goes, I think right now we've got a solid three-man defensive end front between Peppers, Wooten, and McClellan coming in providing pressure. I think Washington would be a great addition to that. I really want to see him out there being subbed in, you know, on those downs where you need to get rest to starters to keep the pressure up. I think he can definitely supply that pressure. And as far as linebackers go, I think everybody this preseason has been nothing but impressed with Bostic.
Yeah, he has the starting job. I mean, it's not even a question anymore. DJ Williams, he's the number 2 whenever he gets healthy. But John Bostic, he's got it. He's able to keep up with mobile quarterbacks, as we just saw against Oakland. He goes from sideline to sideline, no problem. Causes interceptions, causes fumbles. He has a big hit, which is completely legal. That should not be fined. The $21,000 for a rookie is ridiculous. But, I mean, he's everything we hoped he would be and more.
See, and this is the thing about Bostic. I just want to talk about that hit that you perfectly legal. I think so, too. Would that hit have been legal in college?
In college football, I say it should be.
Because
it should be. It would be a legal play.
Because you say the 21 for the rookie is just ludicrous. Well, why are you finding him that much if he's just coming from college? So he used to adapt to how to hit in the NFL.
Yeah, I think they want to set it early like, hey, that's a no-no type of thing. But, I mean, he hit him with the shoulder. When it first happened, all the announcers, all the analysts are saying it's a perfect form tackle. It's exactly how you should tackle. Maybe his head needs to be moved up a little bit.
But the helmet contact wasn't there.
Yeah, it wasn't a helmet-to-helmet play. I mean, they basically just said that he was lowering his helmet on a defenseless receiver. How can that receiver, Mike Willie, be defined as defenseless? He caught a ball, which was a bubble screen, took 2 steps forward, and apparently that's defenseless? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, the thing is, usually when we hear the term defenseless player, it's guys cutting over the middle, and as they jump in the air
to that Jets-Cardinals game when
oh my God,
when Favre was still on the Jets. Yeah, that's what I think when I think defensive.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
receiver.
I start cringing just imagining those. And yeah, you got a wide receiver coming down with the ball, and you got somebody, either a linebacker, corner, or a safety, God forbid, just absolutely aiming to take this guy's head off. This was not the case. So it really lends to the question of were the refs, I don't want to say incorrect, not incorrect, because I think we can all agree from what we can see, clear as day on tape, that was not a defenseless wide receiver. I think they were just trying to set a precedent early in preseason about these type of hits.
Well, an issue, too, is the referees in the game 100% fine with it.
Yeah.
No flags, no nothing. The problem was when the NFL reviewed it and said, yeah, we're going to call that a fine.
The no fun league coming into effect.
And John Bostic can appeal it, and I think when he appeals it, because he should, he will get it taken away, and there'll be no problem. But it was stupid. It's kind of it's something you don't want to see out of the NFL is, yeah, let's just fine it, and then we'll see what happens later.
So I'm just going to ask overall, wrap up the Bears. This is the last time, obviously, we're going to see the starters for the Bears this preseason. You guys happy? The two Bears fans in the room, are you happy?
Most likely pretty happy. I think the last point, I know Mark mentioned it earlier, this offensive line. We made a lot of change on this offensive line this past season. And the thing that surprises me the most, obviously Long is the start on this line now, but also our 5th-round pick will be starting over Jamarcus Webb. And I'm sorry, it feels good to say. Jamarcus Webb was a 7th-rounder who got asked to do a lot. To be honest, he started off with some hope. There was some potential, but it became very clear right after that he was not able to play offensive line successfully. Just too many guys getting by him. He's getting beat too often. So we're going to end up with 2 rookies on the starting line. Very good chance.
And I'm just throwing out there that 5th-round pick Dave's talking about, Jordan Mills out of Louisiana Tech.
He's a surprise. And the fun fact is that Mills and Long were roommates during the training camp over at Olivet Nazarene. So they have good chemistry together, and that's something you can't put it on paper. You can't evaluate it, but you know it when you see it. When you have chemistry between your offensive line, that's just perfect. I was very, very surprised and very happy about everything with the starters. The only exceptions may be, the little bit of a case of the dropsies for Brandon Marshall and for Martellus Bennett. A little bit of a problem, but one game. You maybe see that once or twice, hopefully.
Yeah, but I mean, you talk about this chemistry between Mills and Long. What's Trestman known for? Scouting. And I mean, yeah, we think scouting is just he's going to look at college players who to bring in, but just in camp when they were at Olivet, do you think he wasn't using those skills to be like, okay, these guys work together, I'm going to see what they could do on the field?
I think he definitely was. I mean, you got to look at everything when you're a head coach. It's not just stats. It's how they interact with each other, who people like, who they don't like, and it's working right now. Yeah. I think we probably should have a team that can go to the playoffs, barring any injuries or any drastic events, but we're in good shape right now.
Yeah, for the first time in 7 years, I can say I'm pretty hopeful on this offensive line. I think the key additions in the offseason have paid off. We put down the money as far as free agency goes, got talented players to put them in, and this offensive line really came together. I'm really happy to see the result of this Bears offense.
Well, we're going to move on. AFC North, the last division. We have to preview. Dave, because you weren't here last week, you couldn't get to talk about your NFC North. I'm going to let you pick. Which team from the AFC North do you want to tackle first? Ravens, Bengals, Browns, or Steelers?
I'm going with the Bungles.
The Bungles.
Cincinnati Bungles.
The one thing about the Bengals, I'm just going to throw it out there. When I heard people saying they're going to win the AFC North, I kind of took a step back at first because I was like, really? The Bengals?
And it is interesting because you got to think there's 3 teams vying for that top spot between Bengals, Ravens, and Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, the Ravens have lost a lot in this past offseason, a lot of veteran talent, veteran leadership, but they really tried to fill in with younger guys, more mobile, active people. I mean, it's hard to replace. You can't replace Ray Lewis. You can't replace Ed Reed. But you can get guys who can do things they couldn't do towards the end of their careers. So this is a team trying to repeat, and their defense is a lot weaker. Their offense is going to be weaker. They've got a lot of missing pieces. So it's a perfect opportunity for the Cincinnati Bengals team to step in and really stamp their mark on the division.
See, and I mean, I'm looking at the Bengals team, and the first thing I look at is their offense. What did they add? Well, they've got a great... I'm going to put them... I've been hearing nothing but good things fantasy-wise about Giovanni Bernard, back up to Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. They add Tyler Effort behind Gresham for the tight end. I want to see if Effort, the rookie out of Notre Dame, is he going to be a good part of this offense?
Well, I think they're going to move over and use some of that 2 tight end, which is getting hugely popular in the NFL.
Or 4 tight end if you're in Philly.
Well, the 2 tight end thing definitely opens up some possibilities. Between Gresham and Eifert, you got 2 guys who are really just matchup issues as far as any defense goes. And you can't put linebackers on, they're too slow. You can't put safeties or corners on because they're too small. So it's like, it just leaves a lot of questions, a lot of chances for the Cincinnati Bengals offense to score some points.
And also, I'm thinking, is Andy Dalton really the guy? Is he the guy to... I'm not going to say get them to the playoffs because I feel like as Dalton as a quarterback, the Bengals can make the playoffs. But is he the guy to get them over the hurdle, get them far into the playoffs, maybe win a Super Bowl?
I think Dalton is their franchise quarterback, yeah. I'm completely sold on him. Last year, he had almost 3,700 yards, 27 touchdowns, solid stats, and they just keep giving him more options on this offense. The thing that you need to look at is their defense, and that is what needs to be cleaned up in my mind.
Well, they got your favorite, probably maybe your favorite player in the whole league, in Taylor Mays.
He's not he's one of my favorite college players. His transition to the NFL wasn't so successful. He started off in San Francisco, and then has been moved over to Cincinnati. But his play style isn't exactly too great in the NFL, as he was one of the hard-hitting guys. In college, that really lent himself. He was a bigger safety. And in the NFL, he doesn't have that size advantage anymore, and he also can't go head hunting.
He can't be the
slight downside.
The hard hitter he was.
He's
with
still
the
hard
Trojans.
hits, but he can't take people's heads off anymore.
No.
So, I mean, it's a lot riding on this linebacker core, especially. I think Ray Malaluga is doing a great job leading them.
And I mean, Mark, I'm going to throw this your way with the Bengals. I'm thinking, we haven't mentioned Hard Knocks. Is having Hard Knocks during preseason going to hurt them in the season? I mean, we saw what it did to the Jets.
You know, it's interesting because obviously Cincinnati's dealt with Hard Knocks before. You got teams that maybe, I don't know, the Jets is a good example of not doing well after that attention. But the Jets get tons and tons of attention anyways. And especially when they get things like Tim Tebow, which it wasn't the Hard Knocks season, but...
Or whenever they have the Sanchez on the sideline.
Exactly, and even now they have another quarterback controversy right now, although Geno Smith should have won that job. Yeah, it basically is his to lose. Then you got a team like Miami, though, and there was some issues with the kind of like Chad Ochocinco getting kicked out on live TV, which I thought was kind of rude, kind of cold.
Yeah.
But it didn't really hurt the Miami Dolphins. They didn't have a great season. They didn't make the playoffs, but...
They're the Miami Dolphins, and we didn't expect that out of
exactly.
them anyway, so...
But I mean, one guy, new guy to the Bengals who hates Hard Knocks, James Harrison. But he's kind of an old school guy.
Yeah, he definitely is, and he's another one of those guys who I think can add a lot to this team, and we're talking about hard hitters.
Yeah, I was going to say.
How many times is he going to get fined, though? That's my question.
I'm thinking the over-under is around 5.
The over-under is around 5 for James Harrison. But, I mean, the team as a whole, the Bengals, I really don't know who... I think the AFC North is the same thing that we said last week about the NFC North. The division champion right now, early on, I'm going to give it to the Ravens out of respect.
For the Super Bowl championship.
But other teams, it's the same thing as the NFC North. The Ravens are your Packers. The Bengals and the Steelers are your Bears and Vikings. Could maybe take it, but we don't know type of thing.
Here's the thing about the Cincinnati Bengals. They're in a weird spot right now. They've gone to the playoffs back-to-back years, and they've gotten knocked out by the same team back-to-back years.
Have they really gotten knocked out by the same team?
Yep. Got knocked out by the Houston Texans both times. And it's a weird place for them because This year they need to go and they need to win. They need to win that first game in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing as far as confidence as a quarterback goes as well. As we all know, Tony Romo, struggling that issue of wins in the playoffs. So I think if Dalton, it's the fact that they keep getting matched up with the Texans, and the Texans are such a strong offensive team, and like I said, they pick up Harrison this offseason. I think that was pretty much a spite move by Harrison to go to the Cincinnati Bengals, but it's still kind of funny. I think they need to get themselves positioned. It's luck of the draw. If they go against the Texans again, I think they might go 0-3, to be honest with you. But I like this team. I really do hope that they get a chance and Dalton gets that first win in the playoffs.
And who do the Bengals play to start the season? Da Bears.
Yeah, they have a rough beginning, to be honest. I mean, you got at Chicago. You get to go play Pittsburgh in your hometown,
and then
which is going to be a little beneficial.
And then you got Green Bay.
Exactly. It's a difficult start. You had the potential to be 0-3, obviously. The only thing that really helps out with that Pittsburgh game, it's a home game, but Harrison, he's going to have that extra spark early on.
One question I'm going to ask, maybe this will transition over to another team in the AFC North. That last game on December 29th, is that going to be for the AFC North title? Baltimore at Cincinnati?
It could be. I don't know. I think this is a weird one because you got questions such as, is the Super Bowl hangover going to affect the Baltimore Ravens at all?
Are the losses on defense going to hurt the Ravens?
And offense.
There's a lot of questions there. So maybe, but honestly, I kind of see Baltimore Ravens falling back.
Well, the big question about, and you say loss on offense, but the one thing I'm thinking about for the Ravens offensively, Joe Flacco, you got the money. Show me. Show me that last season wasn't just, hey, it's my contract year. Now you gave me money. Now I can sit back. Show me that you really earned that money.
Yeah, and he's going to have to earn that money because without Anquan Bolden on that offense,
without Ray's last ride boosting them in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's entirely on his back to be the leader of this team. The thing is, with only Torrey Smith as your go-to wide receiver,
Jacoby Jones isn't bad.
He's not bad.
And
he definitely showed his worth in the playoffs last year.
And the one thing they did pick up, Brandon Stokely, who he's worked with Caldwell in Indianapolis. And then you have, look at their tight ends. Dixon's going to be the starter, but they still have Visanthe Shenko and Dallas Clark, who yet again has worked with Caldwell.
I think the offense, it's interesting because you lost one of your main guys, but you kind of have equaled things out. I don't think you have as many guys who you know for a fact right now, this guy's going to get done. Can't wait to see you in the Pro Bowl, type of things like that.
Ray Rice.
Yeah, exactly. But you've got some good guys. There's a lot of potential. It kind of comes down to Joe Flacco getting it done, and I think Joe Flacco should be able to get it done. The defense is the thing that you got to ask questions about.
Well, and yes, the Ravens' defense have they lost a lot? Yes, but it's like they lose Ray Lewis, but they add Doomerville. And they added Doomerville how? Because they couldn't fax his contract in on time? Really, Denver? Really, we're still faxing contracts in the whole email and digital documents? That's how the Ravens get him, and they also add McClain, inside linebacker.
Yeah, so they pick up their linebacker core seems to be okay at this point. Throughout the preseason, it's looked okay at most times. T-Sizzle obviously still holding down the bunker. And you got Nod up front, and honestly, he's just a beast still. I have total faith in their front line. I can't wait to see more often, seeing Doomerville come in off the edge. And the thing with me, though, is the secondary.
Well,
That's where my question
don't
comes.
forget, yes, they lose Ed Reed, but I'm interested to see how the rookie out of Florida, Matt Elam, is going to do with the strong safety position.
You can't really rely on a rookie to replace
the
Ed
Bears.
Reed,
Look at Bostic. Look at how good Bostic's been, and you're saying you can't rely on a rookie.
Not everybody.
I think it's possible we could see him just come out and be the next Ed Reed, but It's not.
I'm
likely.
not saying he's going to be. It's like, look at the Bears. Elam was in the first round too. You guys drafted Long, right?
Yes.
Long's going to start. There's no way you draft him in the first round and he doesn't start.
Long's replacing a 7th-round pick who didn't deserve a spot on the line anyway.
Mills is replacing Webb.
Well, that was after Webb got moved over.
Oh, okay. So Mills replaced him, then Long. But I mean, Elam is still going to help out this defense. And I mean, yes, is the secondary weaker? Out of the entire defense, is it the weakest? Yes. But I mean, there are worse secondaries in the league, aka Detroit.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're the Super Bowl champion, obviously you're going to play a very difficult schedule. So you're going to go up against Tom Brady. You're going to go up against Matthew Stafford.
Peyton Manning.
Exactly.
In Denver,
Right off the bat.
You get to go
because
Aaron
the
Rodgers
Baltimore
as well.
Orioles are.
Yeah, that's an
There's no other
unfortunate
words
one.
for that.
But I mean, you get to go up against some tough teams, and I think honestly, there's a chance that you miss out on the playoffs just because your schedule's difficult. All these teams have great quarterbacks that are going to attack your secondary. It might just slip by. You might be like an 8-8 type of team.
Yeah, but I mean, last year they played Tom Brady and won. Yeah, it was a close game. I'm not saying that just because they won last year they're going to win again. But I mean,
That was a thrilling game to watch, too.
the only teams they lost to were Michael Vick, 1-point loss. They lost to Schaub. They lost to Big Ben, RG3, Peyton Manning.
They had that streak.
But beat Peyton the second time. They beat Peyton the second time when it counted.
And that was an amazing moment of mistake.
A
And
flub.
luck.
Yeah, I didn't want to say fluke because, Fluco Flacco. But they play 8 great quarterbacks in this season. So those are 8 games that you have a question mark next to right now. And then there's anything else. Anything else where maybe you just kind of slip up, or maybe a team like the Cincinnati Bengals can get your number this time. It's just going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them to repeat and for them to even go back into the playoffs.
Yeah, especially having that Super Bowl on their back. They're just a target. They're going to get everybody's best shot this year.
See, I will say this. I'm not saying the Ravens are going to repeat, but I will say Ravens are going to be a playoff team this year.
The AFC is a little weak, so they definitely have a good potential to get
Mark,
in there.
we talked about it last week. The AFC, it's kind of like you could almost pick any team except for maybe the Raiders or the Browns, and it'd be like, okay, yeah, I could see where we're coming from.
Pretty much. It's
that's
not.
sad.
It's just not that tough. I mean, you got your heavy hitters. You got your guys. They're in. They're done.
Like the playoff teams in the AFC. Denver's going to be there. I'm going to put the Patriots in that boat. I'm going to even throw, I'm not going to say that they might not get as high, but a wild card team, Indy. You could put Indy as a wild card team. Houston's going to be in the playoffs.
Yep, if they can stay healthy, they definitely... that's going to be a tough one to stop.
Exactly. You just got those 2 open spots, essentially, that are left that basically are gonna go to anybody who can get like 9 wins.
9 wins, you think, is probably going to get you in the playoffs?
I think 9 wins for the AFC get you in the playoffs.
Will an 8-8 team sneak in at the 6th spot?
It's possible.
I don't even think... I think you're
But I
right with
don't-
that 9 win.
I don't
probably
think
going to be the minimum.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 9. 8's possible, but most likely 9.
So I'm going to move on. Steelers. And the one thing same thing, it's kind of relating to the Bengals. I heard a lot of people were like, oh, Steelers are going to finish last in the North. And I went, really? The Browns are going to do better than the Steelers?
Yeah. I
Really?
almost wanted. No. And the thing was the Steelers team underperforming. Big Ben, obviously, has had better years. He's been healthier. I mean, there's just some things on this team where it's like, they got potential to be up there. They've got 2 big threats at wide receiver, big tight end still. The running back game is a question mark for me, though. That is where I see the biggest.
Well,
they lose Mendenhall.
Yeah, but I mean, Redmond's not that bad, and it all depends on Le'Veon Bell out of Michigan State. He gets injured in the preseason game against Washington. Right now, he's listed as doubtful. He's not going to need surgery to repair his foot sprain, but how long is he out? Because they might have to run a double running back system. Redmond is probably going to have more of the carries, but he can't do it alone.
I could see Bell being a starter late in the season if he can stay healthy enough. I've watched him at Michigan State. He's an absolute monster, and I like him. I just hope him the best as far as his health goes.
I think we need to remember that last year, the defense of the Steelers, great. Absolutely great. Now, when it comes to offense, they were working with a new system. It was a transition year. They're going to be a little more familiar. They realized what didn't work last year and what did work. So now you got Big Ben, and I think they want to put more... Basically, last year was, let's take a little bit of it away from Big Ben. Now this year's going to be, let's give it back to Big Ben. So they're going to go back to Ben Roethlisberger, and I think they're going to be just as good as they have been in the past.
Well, you said yourself, Mark, their preseason, they've been pretty short on the points as far as it goes. I know it's preseason, but still, you'd like to see some more success on that offense.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the one thing, and I'm talking only for the game against Washington, you weren't dealing with Isaac Redmond. He wasn't playing that game. He hopes to be coming back next week, and he's the leading candidate to get the starting job. But Dave, like you said, Bell can probably take that job late in the season. With the Steelers, though, I mean, they've always been, and this is another, I'm looking at it from a fantasy aspect.
Okay.
Because I'm in fantasy draft mode.
Absolutely.
Their defense.
Yep.
I mean, I wanted to take their defense, but at the same time, I'm like, are they going to be the same Steelers defense that we've seen in the past where you're going to get points from turnovers? They're not going to give up a lot of points. Are you going to see that this year from the Steelers?
Well, again, yeah, okay, so we already talked Harrison's not there anymore, but you still do have a strong linebacker core. You've got pretty good in the secondary. The questions are health. Clark and Pamela.
Pamalamalu.
I'm not in football
it.
season. I can't say his name anymore. I have to get back in
Palamalu.
shape. But yeah, it's health. It's entirely health as far as this team goes, as far as I'm concerned. That is their number one enemy this season.
Well, plus you got some older guys now who are maybe looking to make that last ride like Ray Lewis just did in the near future. Not this year, but maybe 2-3 years down the line. So it's going to be interesting to watch this team, maybe not as much this season, but coming up soon to see if the Steelers can go ahead and just get one more.
I do like the two ends on this team, though, Hood and Kiesel.
The beard.
The beard. I mean, that's the thing. They've got the names. They just need to stay healthy. I think this team is probably going to line up as an 8-8 team, though, because of health concerns. And we've already seen a couple, like you said, the running backs injured preseason.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to just continue to see injuries plague this team, unfortunately.
And I mean, looking back, and I'm taking my sample size from the Washington game. After watching the game, I was like, oh, Landry Jones looked good. I liked how Landry Jones looked. But when you see 9 out of 22 for 111 yards, you're like, okay, that's good yardage, only 9 completions, but 9 for 22. That's my problem with that game.
Well, as far as backups go, he's still pretty fresh. But like you said, it's a decent completion to yardage ratio, at least. And he did look like he was pretty confident as far as when he was standing up to that line.
Because I don't know about you guys, I'm kind of pulling for Landry Jones. Even though technically he's the third stringer on the Steelers, I'm pulling for him because I liked him at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, well, is that saying you're betting on Big Ben going down this year?
No, I'm not saying Big Ben's going to go down. I'm just hoping that Landry Jones, maybe because Big Ben's getting up there. I mean, I'm not saying Big Ben's going to retire anywhere soon. I mean, he is 31.
He's
but
got
I mean,
6 years at least.
But I mean, Landry Jones, I would like to see him do good. But is he going to get the chance? Probably not.
I don't necessarily know if he'll get the chance in Pittsburgh, but maybe trade it out.
That's actually a good question, though, that Dave brought up. If Big Ben goes down, who do you go with, Jones or Gradkowski?
Gradkowski's not doing terrible either this preseason, but
who do you go with? I go
we've
with
seen
Jones.
what Gradkowski
I like
has.
Jones.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I would almost
I think
lean
if your
towards
number
Rookie.
one guy goes down. It kind of depends on how long. If Big Ben's going to be out for the rest of the season,
Let's say it's that.
let's see the rookie. Let's see what we
Okay.
got. We're not going to probably get to the playoffs now because we don't have our number one guy. Let's see what we have in the future, or maybe trade for some picks.
Don't say that. Tom Brady had a career off of that same moment. Quarterback goes down, out for the season, wins a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but I don't necessarily. I wouldn't put Landry
Hey.
Jones in the
If the defense
replace
stayed
Big
healthy,
Ben
he could.
situation.
You never know. But the thing is, we've seen what Gradkowski can do. It's not overly impressive. Yeah, he can manage the game. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'd be with you guys. I want to see what the rookie can go out there and do.
You might have a situation like Matt Castle. He can show off in the season and then get rid of him, give him somewhere else, and let him fail somewhere else.
Exactly.
And now moving over, last team in the division, Cleveland Browns. Do they finish last?
Yes.
I think that's the main question.
Yeah, they do. The Factory of Sadness is
continuing.
In full production so far.
But they did name Brandon Weeden the official starting
But
quarterback.
I mean, I don't know. The one thing I feel about the Browns is Trent Richardson, and yet again, I'm thinking fantasy mode right now.
Yeah, that's what you got.
And I mean, for a really bad team, a really good running back, especially in fantasy.
Absolutely. The only bad part about that is, when a team like the Browns gets down, they're going to start having to throw the ball. So you got to hope it's all swing passes to Richardson.
But what if Weeden struggles?
I think that Weeden can do well. This is the thing. I'm not super down on Weeden like I think the entire world is. Yes, he's old and kind of inexperienced. Yeah, he had his baseball injury on his shoulder. But here's the thing about Brandon Weeden. 3,385 yards. Not bad. I think most teams will be pretty happy with that out of a rookie. Yes, 17 interceptions. That's pretty bad. 14 touchdowns. Not so great either. But this team, who's he going to throw to? Greg Little?
They did add Devon Best.
Devon Best was like the number 2, maybe number 3 out of Miami.
I mean, right now you got Gordon and Little are your for sure. Well, I wouldn't say for sure, but right now on the depth chart, they're the starters. And you have Best, Norwood, Benjamin, Nelson, Cooper, and Robertson.
It's a bad situation for Brandon Weeden because I think he's a better quarterback than he's going to play in Cleveland. But he's got no one to throw to. So he's not going to get anything going on. Trent Richardson's probably one of the only bright spots on this offense. And if you're a Cleveland fan, hope that they get some good pieces now so Trent Richardson doesn't bail when he gets the first opportunity to.
I don't think Richardson would bail, but
what's going to keep him in Cleveland?
Yeah, let's be honest, their drafting strategies aren't the best at this point. They got Richardson. Congratulations, he was a can't-miss prospect. But as far as building up this team to win, questionable.
You're still like 5 or 6 years out.
I wouldn't say 5 to 6. I would say 3
to
years. 4. I'd give them 3 years if they draft correctly.
Well, I mean, look at out of their draft this year, they had, 5 draft picks? The only one I'm looking at, Barcavius Mingo. That's the only one that I feel that can make an impact right from week 1.
And I think that's a problem. Your first problem is that you only have 5 draft picks. When you're a team that is just abysmal always, you need as many draft picks as you can get. So, I mean, it's just a bad situation for the Cleveland Browns to be in. And it's unfortunate because, Cleveland fans already have it bad. We were talking about Art Modell earlier today. Cleveland Browns fans already have it bad enough. For them to just have this horrible football team, too, it's just sad.
Yeah, and the fact is, they're like middle of the pack bad. They're not the outrageously bad, so they're not going to get that first overall pick, or they haven't, been able to do that. The thing is, they need to go out and fill the correct positions. I think they're looking to fill out not necessarily the wrong, but things that don't stand
defense.
Priority. Yeah, they need to rearrange their priorities as far as filling these guys in through the draft.
I will say for the Cleveland Browns, we were talking about Terrell Pryor before and mobile quarterbacks and what they can do on a not-so-good team. Cleveland's a team that would really benefit from a mobile quarterback. They need somebody who can go out there and win games by themselves.
Yeah, but I mean, mobile quarterback, I'm sitting there going, you have Brandon Weeden. We're talking about, you just said Brandon Weeden, what if he goes to leave at the end of his contract? We don't need to look at what quarterback they need.
Well, I'm talking about Trent Richardson leaving, not Brandon Weeden.
Oh, okay.
Brandon Weeden's not going anywhere.
But with the Browns, I think we need to look at not Brandon Weeden being replaced. What do we put around him?
He's going to be 30 in 2 months.
Yeah, I think the problem is for the Cleveland Browns. It's just he's a fine quarterback, but he would be a fine quarterback.
Big Ben's 31. You said Big Ben still has 6 years.
Yeah, but that's Big Ben.
Big Ben's built like a tank.
You think
he'll be injured, but he'll be able to play for 6 years.
You think Weeden won't have at least 6 or 7 years left in the league?
I don't think Weeden will have the chance to play for that long because of his limited success in Cleveland, and after that contract runs up, I don't know if anybody would give him a shot to start again.
Brandon Weeden would have been good if he was drafted by a team like Arizona, which, they would have had bad problems protecting him.
I was just going to say, though.
Exactly. That would have been a decent matchup.
If Carson Palmer can get a job with the Cardinals, I think there'll be a job for Brandon Weeden.
Carson Palmer was a proven commodity when he was in Cincinnati, though. And then he went over to Oakland and still was able to have offensive success in a very system.
Well, maybe. That's what I see in Brandon. Brandon Weeden has all the tools to be successful, but he's in Cleveland.
Wide receivers.
But that's not on him. That's on
some offensive line.
on the ownership. That's on the GM. Put something around him.
I'm completely agreeing with you. I'm just saying that other teams aren't going to. They're going to see Brandon Weeden as an aging quarterback with little experience and limited success.
Or he can get a backup job.
I'm not going to doubt that.
He can get a job to back somebody up, but I don't think once he gets to be 33 at the end of his contract, or 32 going on 33 probably, I just don't see a team that's going to be like, all right, we'll give him a shot. I mean, they might let him compete if they have an open competition in their training camp, but I don't see him really winning.
Do you think at the end of his contract that he will be the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns?
At the end of his quarterback,
depends on how they draft. Where do they put around him?
That's the question.
Well, I think by the end of Brandon Weeden's contract, I think they will have gotten a new quarterback. Because this team is they're just middle of the road.
See, but I feel like this is the
middle of the road bad.
I feel like we're saying, oh, they're going to get a new quarterback. Well, let's say, I'm going to put it this way. Teddy Bridgewater comes in next year. He's on the Browns. He's not going to be successful on this team, no matter what quarterback you put in here.
Exactly, which is why I think if they did get him, that he wouldn't start day one. I think
Bridgewater?
Yeah, I think the Browns would let him sit for 1 year behind Breeden while they go on and continue to draft things around him. Then get rid of Weeden.
I don't think Bridgewater start.
Why take a quarterback? Why take a quarterback when you can take? It's like, look at how many wide receivers went in the first round this year.
Here's what I would rather see. I would rather see the man with the name, Johnny Football, be in the state of football.
You know what? You know who I would love to see the Browns get next year as their big wide receiver pickup? Lee out of USC.
It wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
I think, that's the thing for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I think they should wait with Brandon Weeden because they have him for, 1 more year, 2 more years? And I think you're going to be able to get some good receivers there and let him be your kind of transition guy.
Yeah.
You just let him basically game manage while you build up some of your playmakers, because that's the thing Cleveland needs. They need playmakers right now, and then put somebody else in there who can be successful. That's the only thing that's going to get Cleveland out of the rut that they have been in ever since they came back.
And not to compare, it's not a straight comparison, but you got to think what happened in Indianapolis that 1 year of suck for luck. Drew Stanton was there. He was a placeholder until they could get somebody to fill in. And I know they did add as well as in the year they got Andrew Luck, they picked up some offensive weapons. But you got to think that team was pretty much ready. It was just preheated for them, you know? And I think that, sadly, is going to be the situation with the Cleveland Browns.
And if I'm not mistaken, Browns have a new coach this year. First-year coach. So maybe we're going to see, I just want to see the let's build around Weeden, not let's build around someone else we're going to try to get in a few years. It's not fair to Weeden.
No, it's not.
Weeden has I think he has the tools to be successful. Am I saying he's a Super Bowl quarterback? Is he up with the Joe Flacco's, Brady's? No way. But he can be successful.
By the time this team is built up, though, Brandon Weeden's 34. I just don't see it. I mean, I don't see them. Maybe they give him a 1-year contract after he's done, as like a thank you for your service.
But I feel like we're talking about the end of his contract before it's like.
Do you think in the next 2 years that he'll do something to prove himself as a franchise quarterback for the short remaining of his career?
If they need to give him a wide receiver, they need to give him a number 1 target. That's what they need to do. They gave him a running back that he can just hand the ball off to. Now they need to get him a wide receiver that he can say, that's my guy. That's my go-to guy.
And we'll have to wait and see if they do it. Fortunately for the Cleveland Browns, they'll be towards the beginning of the draft because
they suck.
Yeah, they're going to be at the bottom of the AFC.
I'm going to say right now, my first 2 picks next year, Lions get number 1, Browns get number 2.
I disagree with the Lions. I
Yep,
think they're going to kick the crap out of your Vikings.
I don't know. It's a tough one.
Ooh, they win 2 games, Dave.
I'm just saying that I think you guys are a little too down on Lions. Okay. This is a little makeup time because I wasn't here last week for the NFC North, and I just want to cover that. I think these guys are a little too down on the Lions.
Okay, ESPN. Ooh, they beat the Patriots 40-9.
I know.
Ooh.
They've got a defensive front four that's very good. Yeah, no shit. Tell me something I don't know.
That's all they've got.
They have no secondary. I agree. But they do have an offense that, by all logical standards, should have been way better than it was last year, but it wasn't. And you got to think that eventually they're going to put all these things together, and this is going to be one hell of an offensive team.
Yeah, they'll put it together when Schwartz isn't their coach.
That will be a good benefit. I think here's the problem. You got a guy like one of the best wide receivers. You can say the best wide receiver.
No, top 2. He's got to take
Top
that away.
2.
I'm sorry.
Top 2, Kelvin Johnson, and Peanut Tillman can go out there and shut him down.
Tillman is a
every
monster,
time.
though. Tillman is
It's just it's unreal. It's unreal that something like that can happen, and I don't know that for that reason alone.
Tillman's a specialist at shutting down big wide receivers. That's his game.
I just think that Calvin Johnson, he's pretty much what they have. The number 2, yeah, Matthew Berry's in love with him, and he's been in love with whoever the number 2 receiver is in
This year it's Ryan
Detroit.
Broyles.
Exactly.
Yeah. Last
Just
year,
name me the
Titus
guy.
Young. Now Titus Young isn't even in the NFL. I mean,
Exactly.
Come on.
Just name me a guy, and I'll take him. But, I mean, it makes sense, and it's perfectly rational, but no. No. No, I'm not, I don't want to get back into it because it's going to start complaining about Matthew Stafford and how...
All right.
Well, we talked about the NFL. Guys, this is the last weekend of true preseason college football. Teams get back to the regular weekly grind starting on Monday.
The feeder league.
Let's look at, I'm going to say the big conferences.
Let's start with
Let's
the Big
preview.
Sky.
We love the Big Sky.
We know everyone's waiting to hear about the Big Sky Conference right now. That's why you're listening to this podcast.
The Big Sky, but no. We're going to talk ACC. We'll just go alphabetical order. ACC. I'm just going to put it plain and simple. Who's going to win the ACC?
I think Florida State.
With the freshman quarterback.
I do. I think Florida.
The true freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm just...
Bring it. Bring it. Who do you think is going to win the ACC?
Right now, I mean, Florida State, depending on how the true freshman can do, Virginia Tech is going to be up there.
Every year, Virginia Tech is up there.
You have, I mean, one of the things, Clemson. Can Clemson actually compete? And the one team, Maryland. What are you going to do on your farewell tour?
How many different jerseys are you going to wear this year?
Are you going to be Baby Oregon?
They want to be.
Well, I don't know. This is a tough one, and I think it's kind of...
It's tough because there's no true
there's no
national
one
champion
going out there. I think Clemson can do a great job. I really do. And part of it really is because I think that I kind of agree with Dave that Florida State should be right there. My problem is your quarterback. You just lost your quarterback. He's gone.
And now they name a true freshman as their starter.
Exactly.
Which means he did something pretty impressive.
Oh, he did.
must
I'm
have.
just saying, like, we don't really know what he can...
Unproven commodity, but
yes.
a very good team, coached well.
He's gonna be
I
there.
put my faith in this
He's
team.
gonna
I just
be there
don't
for a
think that we're
while.
going to see another Johnny Manziel freshman, even though Johnny Manziel is not a true freshman, but another freshman who can go out there and get it done.
Okay.
But maybe his sophomore year, I think probably in his sophomore year I'm going to be high on Florida State. Just because, like you said, they're a well-coached team. They're doing everything they need to do, and they were good just last year.
Okay, I'm going to move on. Big 12. We have a ton of... Kansas State loses their quarterback.
Thundercats.
The West Virginia loses Geno Smith. Can Kansas finally get up there? Oklahoma doesn't have Landry Jones anymore. In this entire division, I'm thinking that Texas might be the front runner. Because what has Texas lost? Not much.
What did Texas have? Not much.
They didn't have Colt McCoy days, but they're not a bad team.
They're a good team. It's an interesting situation, once again, because there's no clear-cut winner. So maybe it's Texas, but you have those kind of powerhouse teams like Oklahoma, who I think can go back and just kind of
Oklahoma,
shift pieces around to get it going again.
With Oklahoma, it's all about who's going to take that quarterback spot and can they survive. And it looks like the Sooners are going to start Knight at the quarterback position to take over for Jones, but can he basically do what Jones did? Because Jones was a good quarterback at Oklahoma.
He definitely was. I was high on him last year, and I think he was. To be honest, we were talking about him before. I think he could later on in his NFL career surprise people and be one of those type of quarterbacks. But here's the thing: in the Big 12, I don't see one team that's going to say yes, that's it. So you can have a guy show up like Knight, and he can just doesn't have to be great, but he's got a good system there. And I don't think you really have that many Oklahoma quarterbacks who you just say it's all about the quarterback. None of it is a system.
See, and I feel like the big trend with the Big 12 we're going to see this year, you have Oklahoma, Kansas State, West Virginia. They're all kind of, we need to replace our quarterback. That's what this conference is going to be. The conference of replacing quarterbacks, and how are the new quarterbacks
So you think we're going to have a down year in the Big 12?
Not a down year, but I mean, they are. I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if they're the weakest big conference, the weakest power conference in college football this year.
I can't really argue with you. You're 100% spot on in my mind as well. It is so it could be years that we could see somebody pop up and surprise us.
Maybe. I mean, I'm double checking. Even Baylor, they lose Nick Florence. That's another starting quarterback that we need to replace in the Big 12. And I mean, we talked about him before. C-Shrunk for Baylor.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the running back in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy.
I love how we have to throw that down and everything, but it does seem like a key piece.
Well, he does bust off a run. Greg Jennings it.
He did.
I should say. He broke his leg and scored a touchdown.
I mean,
he put the team on his back, too.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I mean, with the Big 12 picking a winner, I could flip a coin and do the same, so I'm just going to say Texas.
You got about 4 teams who are up there.
I want to go with Oklahoma just because I like Oklahoma.
I mean, a team we didn't even mention. What about Gundy and Oklahoma State? They lost their starter. He transferred to Illinois.
Yep. It's just, I don't know. It's an interesting situation in the Big 12. I don't think the Big 12 is that great of a conference this year, obviously. So I think you might fall back on some of the tradition.
Texas Tech could throw up a wild card chance this year because of the situation.
Well, Texas Tech has a new coach, too. So we might see a different thing. They have Tuberville. He used to be with Cincinnati.
Yeah, I still see being pass happy.
Okay.
It's just tradition at Texas Tech.
Throw the ball. Your quarterback's got to throw.
Trey pulls free. Touchdown.
Nope.
Dave's not going to finish it. Red Raiders.
I wanted to say thrower's got to throw, but it didn't make sense.
Okay, move it. Big 10. Pretty unanimous here.
You think your Illinois is going to win this one?
Their new quarterback, huh?
Pretty unanimous here who's going to win the Big 10, right?
Right. I think we all know Northwestern's going to take this one. Clean cut, run away.
Ohio State.
Okay.
Is Ohio
State University.
The question about them, are they going to be the national team? Are they going to go natty this year and win it all?
I don't know. It's tough because they just went undefeated last year.
Oh, they just went undefeated.
But they don't
Alabama.
play SEC powerhouses. And I don't want to see what happened to Notre Dame happen to them and just get absolutely embarrassed in a size competition.
The last time OSU
Alabama.
The last time OSU was in a championship game, who did they lose to? An SEC team.
Yep. SEC's it's the NFL light. But
I mean, I'm looking at Ohio State's non-conference opponents: Buffalo, San Diego State, California, and Florida A&M.
I will say one difference here, though. Remember, Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's no joke.
He was there last year.
Yeah, I know, and that's why they went undefeated.
So they have a coach who had gone up against the best the SEC had to throw at him.
He knows how to coach like an SEC team.
He sure does.
The question is there the talent equivalent?
He's been blessed by Tebow.
He was. So with that in mind,
he's got everything he needs to beat Alabama.
See, this is the only question I have about the Big Ten, and that's Nebraska, because I feel like they're kind of in a shit spot this year because we're talking about for the past 4 years they've gotten to their conference title game and haven't been able to win it. Well, you're talking about getting over that hurdle when guess who can now play in the title game, and that's Ohio State.
Yeah, it's not going to be this year either. Sorry, Nebraska.
It's really unfortunate for Nebraska. They're a good team. Always a good team. Just can't get it done.
No, they can't.
They just can't.
In the Big 12, it was they can't get past Oklahoma. In the Big 10, it's, hey, we're the best team in the Big 10. Oh, wait, Montevideo and Wisconsin just owned us.
Speaking
Embarrassed
of,
them.
do you think Wisconsin puts up a fight against this Ohio State team?
No, new coach coming over from Utah State. It's going to be interesting to see what Wisconsin even does this year.
All right.
So, moving on.
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
last thoughts on the Big
Yeah,
10?
North-
Let's
Western.
move on to Conference USA.
Conference US, Pac-12, Oregon. Can you say that they're going to win it, or is it Stanford's time, or maybe USC?
USC is not time.
See, I don't trust Oregon. I mean, we've already had the discussion.
The systematic offense argument.
Yeah.
Every offense has a system, though.
I just don't trust without Chip Kelly that Oregon's going to be the same. I just don't believe they're going to be the same.
Yeah, they're going to kick a lot more field goals.
Stanford did pretty well without
They go
Harbaugh.
for it on
Yeah.
fourth down.
And that was nice and surprising that without Harbaugh, Stanford still stood up.
Yeah, but Shaw's a good, and I'm not saying that Oregon's new coach isn't good, but Shaw's a great coach. It's not like they just put in crap.
Yeah, that's true. I think Stanford has. I really like watching Stanford. They are
gonna
like a
win?
mini NFL offense.
Are they going to win
defense.
the North now that Chip is no longer at Oregon?
I think there's going to be some fall for. I think you're right though. It's one of those two teams, and it's going to come down to them playing twice. And I got Stanford leaning with it. I think they got enough big bodies, and that's the thing is. And even though I'm contradicting myself as I'm thinking about this, they got big bodies. Well, that means Oregon's offense can succeed against them because Oregon's all about the speed game. But I think Stanford will be able to contain it.
See, and I'm comparing, I'm going to say the three big teams that I'm looking at in the Pac-12. First, Oregon. Their non-conference opponents, they're going to beat Nicholls State in game one. Virginia, I mean, yeah, we're getting up there in the competition. But that week 3, September 14th, what are you going to do against Tennessee?
It's great to be
A Tennessee Volunteer. And then, I mean, we look at Stanford. Yeah, San Jose State, Army, but that non-conference game at the end of the year against Notre Dame. What is Notre Dame going to be like this year? And then USC. They have Notre Dame in the middle of the season, but, I mean, Utah State, Boston College, Hawaii, not really big challenges there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I still don't see USC. I'm sorry. USC was just such a disappointment last year after being hyped up to be, they're just set to walk in and take it. And nope, they collapsed.
And I feel like they're still, right now, USC, still undecided at the quarterback position. Should we be worried that, hey,
No.
college football season is actually, practices for this first week's game are starting, and we don't know who's going to start?
It doesn't matter who starts. They've got Red, they've got Lee. Just throw somebody in there who has an arm.
It's all a system in USC, just as it's a system in Oregon.
Just as everywhere.
We pretty much. It's just going to be nice, quick passes. Give it to your running back. Have fun.
And I mean, I know there's probably people listening to this going, guys, you're missing a lot of teams. I mean, in the Pac-12, Oregon State, are they just going to be the little baby brother in the Pac-12? Are they actually going to do something?
They're the third best team in the North.
What about UCLA, ranked 21st coming into the preseason?
UCLA is never.
Rich
gonna
Rod
get
in
it done,
Arizona,
guys.
are they finally going to do something good?
They'll
I
probably
don't know.
beat USC.
If you had to pick one team out of the South to play Stanford in the Pac-12 title, who would you pick?
I would still pick USC.
You would say USC? I want to lean
UCLA
towards...
is close, but I still think USC, because of having those two big weapons on offense, hard to pass up.
It's either going to come down to USC or UCLA.
If USC can go back to the glory days and run the football, I think they can be good.
They've got actually two good running backs, so it's like, why not?
And the one thing I want to see from USC, and especially because we talked about him in a previous podcast, kids from our backyard, Ty Isaac from Joliet Catholic. I haven't heard anything that they're going to redshirt him. I don't know. I kind of hope they do because, I mean, that gives them an extra year after Red's gone. But, I mean, if they don't, that's 2 running backs that they can just run the ball. And, I mean, of course, you're probably sitting there going, well, Ricky, there's a little bit of a transition to go from high school to college. But, I mean, when you run in a state title game 5 touchdowns and set records at your school for rushing yards, you're a pretty good running back. And finally, the SEC. Who wins it all? Is it Gamecocks? Alabama? Bama?
Until
OSU,
they lose,
Alabama?
it's
OSU,
theirs.
Alabama? Is that where we're going to?
I keep thinking Georgia's going to put up a fight one of these years, and they get closer and closer.
But they never do it.
But they can't get
just
over the
never
edge.
Get it done.
Johnny Manziel?
Is he gonna play? I doubt it.
It's hard to say that. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's hard to say that Manziel's going to win it because you don't know what the NCAA will come down on him with as far as these either suspensions.
All they have to do is just suspend him 2 games,
The Alabama
and Texas A&M
game?
are gone.
Oh, that's
They're
right.
not- they're
'Cause
not
then
in
they lose
competition
those
anymore.
games.
Yeah.
Yep.
They lose one of those games, and it's... Because, I mean...
No, they can lose one game. I think you can lose one game in the SEC. I think with everyone in the SEC, no one's going to go undefeated this
You
year.
don't think Bama's going to go undefeated?
Nope. I think every team will have at least one loss in the SEC.
Do you think that... Okay, let me throw this out there. You think every team in the SEC is going to have one loss?
At least one loss.
If a team like Louisville goes undefeated, do you think they should... Let's say...
No.
Let's say OSU goes undefeated.
No.
Do you think an undefeated Louisville team with Teddy Bridgewater should be in the national title game?
No.
Louisville does not play close to the competition of.
But they go
any
on.
team
But
in
if
the
they go
SEC.
undefeated,
No. You're kidding. No.
I'm just throwing the question out there.
Louisville's good. But I can't see
Number
them
9
being a
team in the
number-
country.
I don't think that they're going to go undefeated, first of all. That's the first thing right there. And yeah, they play weak competition, but
They
they're.
play the former Big East, the AAC.
And I just don't think Louisville's that great of a team. I see them slipping one of them. Only one. They're only going to have one loss, most likely, but I see them slipping one of those and just letting it go by.
Even with even if they go undefeated, I still see a one-loss SEC team going over them.
Definitely. SEC has been proven time and time again to be miles away from pretty much any other conference except for maybe the Pac-12 and the Big Ten.
And I mean, I know we talk so much crap about the SEC and how, you know, it's basically the SEC versus everyone else.
Yeah.
But there's so many storylines. I mean, you said about Georgia. They always get there, but can they get over the hurdle?
Yep.
Alabama, they're always there. LSU, what's the Mad Hatter going to do this year?
You got South Carolina.
South Carolina with Clowney, Texas A&M with Manziel disease going on.
And
What about
Florida?
Florida?
Florida's bringing it.
Old Miss with those freshmen that they're bringing in. How many of
Take
those
some
are actually
time,
going to
Ricky.
start?
Calm yourself. It's going to take some time.
No, really. How many of those big freshmen that they brought in are actually going to start? There might be a few of them that start.
I mean, yeah, there'll be some that start without a doubt, but I mean, the Ole Miss hype train, give it a year.
I mean, you have Tennessee, Butch Jones. What's he going to do in his first year? Kentucky with Stoops' younger brother. I feel like if you're looking for storylines, just watch SEC football.
Really, it's amazing that there's anything besides SEC football in college football. I don't know what the
Well,
other
there's
teams
Ohio
are doing.
State, right?
Besides Ohio State, I don't know what any of these teams are doing up here. I mean, it's a completely. They're the minors of the minor league of football.
Who do you got going up against Alabama?
South Carolina.
You got South Carolina. I got Georgia. Who do you got?
I'd put South Carolina.
Really?
I
All right.
mean, I'm going to say this. South Carolina, Tennessee is a dark horse.
Really?
Tennessee
Bold
is
call.
a dark horse. Bold move, Cotton.
Let's see if it pays off.
But, like, other than that, I mean, in the West with Alabama, the only team I see contending with them for the shot in a national title is Texas A&M. But yet again, we say, what's the ACC going to do with Manziel?
Yeah. And if I could mini rant on that, we're still waiting to hear on penalties for Florida. We're still waiting to hear on, like, how many years did it take for Reggie Bush penalties to come out? Meanwhile, they go on the other way with Des Bryant,
I was
and after
just gonna
4
say.
games, they're like, oh, you're gone, sorry. So it's really hard to tell which way they're going to go on this call.
And I mean, hearing and watching ESPN, they're like, oh, well, Des Bryant was a special case where they just want to make an example.
It's an interesting situation with Manziel. I think they need to get it done soon. I think it's a joke that you can mid-season find somebody, or not find, but suspend somebody for something they did before the season started. If it's unless you found out about it today, and they didn't find out about it today, you've got time. Make a decision. Make it right now. I understand maybe there's some things you don't know, but you've probably got all the evidence you're going to dig up.
Yeah, and
so make a decision.
I
Make
think
a
right
decision
now.
now.
They're hesitating because you got that Alabama game right in the beginning of the season, and everybody wants to see that.
And you're going to screw over the other players on this team because you're going to decide week 3, yeah, Johnny Manziel, yeah, you're suspended for the rest of the season. Or you're suspended for 2 games. And that's going to screw over these players who have put everything they can into their college football season. And if you give them enough time, they can figure something out to where they will still be a good team without Johnny Football instead of just having the question mark, being unsure, and not knowing until it's game day.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you're sitting there constantly being like, well, is today the day? Is today the day? Is today? You don't know.
I don't know. I feel like this is what's probably going to happen with Johnny Manziel. They're going to let it play out. He's going to play the Alabama game. After that game, if they lose that game, then the ACC will be like, okay, you're suspended for 9 games? They'll suspend him the rest of the season and be like, oh, it doesn't matter, you lost the game. Or if they lose 2 games. The ACC will probably wait until, okay, Texas A&M is no longer in the running for either an SEC conference title or a championship. They don't need Manziel anymore.
Now that's some conspiracy stuff going on right there.
So, that's all this is
NCAA
conspiracy.
is pretty fishy. Let's be honest.
Pretty much.
They move in mysterious ways.
I will say I enjoyed the nice little article I read about. I think I read it yesterday about how the NFL pressured ESPN to get off of some PBS documentary about concussions. And coincidentally, I mean, it just came out that that's like the explained reason of why they got out. But ESPN just going, oh no, we just wanted creative control over this thing we didn't know we had, or that we knew we didn't have creative control over the whole time. A lot of conspiracies going around football. Big business, and we all know the biggest business is the NCAA.
Yeah, and I mean, last thing that I want to touch for the NCAA, first, national title, who's playing, who's winning, and Heisman, who gets it?
Well, okay, these are some long away things we're predicting right now. We got to remember
you always
that.
got to do your beginning of the year predictions, though.
Ohio State versus Alabama.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Until Alabama loses, I can't see them losing.
It really is hard. Honestly,
It's so
they are
hard
the
to
most
predict that they'll
consistent
lose.
program with success.
Urban Meyer, Trump Saban, Buckeyes win. Buckeyes overtime.
I would love to see it.
Yeah, I'm like,
I'd
man.
love to see it. It's a hard.
If you
thing
could
to call.
topple the Alabama legacy, I mean, wow.
You just
because
stop. You stop then.
To be
You're in
honest,
the Hall of Fame.
why do you think Urban Meyer went to Ohio State? To build that team up, to knock down the SEC, his former conference. To knock it down and say, hey, you know what? If you get a good coach anywhere else, you can be just as good as the SEC.
Not just anywhere else. He's in Ohio State. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not like he's taken Northwestern to the national championship.
But
here.
I mean,
or
if let's say like we throw
Or East
if you
Kentucky
put the,
University.
if you put the right coach at Stanford or at Oregon or at Nebraska, these
you got
good teams.
You have outside teams that are already good, but just need to be taken to the next level.
These are teams that, when they're doing well, can go to the SEC and still compete in that division. You're taking teams that are the same talent level.
And I referenced it earlier. I'll just say it again. Not just a better coach. Take a coach that knows that SEC lifestyle. That
What it takes.
Because they do things differently in the SEC than
Pay
other
their
teams.
players.
Yes, they pay their players in some cases.
Or
You see them on Instagram fanning out $100 bills.
Smart move, kid. Smart move.
you come over to Texas A&M. We know some places you can sell those autographs.
But last but not least, Heisman. Is Manziel going to win it?
Manziel's not going to play. He's not going to play the whole
play.
season. I don't know. It's a tough one.
You got you got Brox. I want to say Broxton Miller will win it, But yet again, we talked earlier how defensive ends, and you got Clowney, who's a flashy defensive end, but yet again, heavy quarterback.
When was the last time?
Bridgewater.
Yeah, when was the last time that a defensive player, Charles Woodson, and that was in '97, and the only reason he did that was because he was also a punt returner.
True. I mean, I kind of feel like these Heisman watch at the beginning of the year, Clowney might only be at the top because of the hit heard around the world.
Yep. And I think this year it will be a running back. I think if we went...
I was going to say quarterback.
We
think
went
it's
3 straight
quarterback,
quarterbacks. I think it's time to switch up and throw a running back in there.
I think it's going to be Broxton because it's hard to be... With A.J. McCarron, I feel like even if Alabama goes undefeated...
It's so talent-soaked in every other position.
They have a defense, they have a running back. With Broxton is Ohio State's offense.
I will say one thing, though. You got a guy like Teddy Bridgewater who's against watered-down competition. He can go out there and show what he can do every game and not make that many mistakes.
And we didn't talk about this. You guys said, yet again, leading back to the one-loss SEC, what if we do see an Ohio State-Louisville national championship? Would you watch that game?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would watch
you have to watch.
Would you
It's
be
a national
excited for that
championship.
game?
I would be excited because I like Ohio State, but if I was not a fan of Ohio State, I wouldn't be that excited about it.
Or let me ask this question. Would Louisville, even being in the national championship, be good for college football?
Depends what you mean by good. It would be good because it's good to level out the playing
non-traditional
field.
power.
To not
It's
have
not-
an SEC team in the championship for once?
Yeah, it's not good because of business. You're
Ratings
not
might
gonna
be
make
down.
money. Yeah.
You know, jersey sales.
And then we're going to have Kirk Herbstreit sitting up there on his platform again going, this is a joke of football. This is making a mockery of the whole thing. They shouldn't be in there.
I'll go out of the way here and say that everybody on this ESPN experts poll list of Heisman Watch not going to win it. I
don't think
I think
anybody-
somebody coming out of left field is going to win it this year.
So you don't think... I'm just going to take the top two. You don't think Clowney or Broxton Miller are going to win the Heisman?
Or Johnny Manziel, probably, because he
Or
won't play
Johnny
the whole year.
Manziel.
I don't think McCarron will win it. I don't think Mariota will win it. Bridgewater stands the most chance because he is a unique case, and there's no one around him to the point where it's like, oh, well, his stats are completely because of this.
Yeah.
So I think Bridgewater stands the best chance.
But
on
really,
this
the
list.
Heisman is
Or
off of
C-Strong.
stats, mostly.
C-Strong and Bridgewater. Those are my
the
two
only
people.
two? You don't think your boy from USC,
No.
Marquise Lee, can
No,
win
I
it?
don't, because he doesn't have a quarterback yet. Like we said, yeah, he's a phenomenal talent, but like you said, Heisman's based on numbers and what you do on those primetime games.
Dave says left field. Mark, final vote. Who wins the Heisman at the end
I'm
of the
going to
year?
go with Bridgewater because the competition he's going against is weak. He's going to show off his arm every game.
I'm going quarterback as well. Big boy Broxton. Going to win the Heisman. Going to win a national title this year. So that's going to do it for the Onside Kick. Don't forget to subscribe, like us, check out our Facebook, check us out on Twitter at Onside Kick Real. Leave us a comment down below. We love talking to you guys about the sports that we bring to you every single day. And as always, have a good day, everybody.